it goes right, it's a slice. If it goes left, it's a hook. If it goes straight, it's a miracle. This is Out of Bounds. If it's happening in the world of golf, we're talking about it. Coverage, debate, discussion, pro golf and local golf. Let's do it. This is Out of Bounds. And here are your hosts, Nate Sharman and Josh Durso.
I'm Nate Sharman, joined as always by Mr. Josh Durso. Josh, was a fun weekend with the Waste Management Phoenix Open. We'll dive right into that, but good to have you here.
Good to be here. Maybe, just maybe, the best weekend that isn't a major championship in professional golf.
I think most would agree, yes. I mean, if you're in the golf world, you saw the videos that kind of transpired from the 16th hole, whether it be in the morning at 5:30 a.m., they're lined up, ready to go when they open those doors, and sprinting to the 16th tee box in the stadium course to get good seats. Mm-hmm. It's something you put on our notes this morning, a spectacle, and I think that's a really great word to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you want a non-major to be, right?
Right.
Like there's all this attention among the really dedicated golf crowd, I'd say, with the players because of Sawgrass and obviously 17 and the lore around that.
Right.
But, as far as bringing new golf fans into the fold, it's hard to compete with the WM Open, the Waste Management Open.
Right.
You can't beat it. It is a spectacle.
Yes.
It brings non-golfers into the fold. I don't even think it really matters. I saw some chatter online that maybe if this wasn't the same weekend as the Super Bowl, it wouldn't have the same. That doesn't matter.
No,
the Super
it was
Bowl
pretty
is
crazy
in
just as
Arizona
last
every year.
Right.
So that part of it doesn't matter. It's a great event. It's an elevated event.
Mm-hmm.
So add to it there as well. I think beyond the elevated event status, I think what the PGA Tour is going to find is that it needs to look for more ways to make events unique, like this one has become unique in the future with other elevated events.
Right. I want to talk about that 16th hole. It's a par 3. Obviously, the stadium seating around it, very loud fans, about 175 yards to not an easy green. So you don't see, you would think maybe a stadium course, you would see a lot of birdies in that hole, but you really don't. I mean, it's...
Do you think that's because of the crowd aspect?
No,
or
I don't
just
think
it's
so.
a little more challenging?
No, I just think it's such a big, long green
Mm-hmm.
that you could, depending on where the pin is, it's a 7-iron, it's a 9-iron, it's a 6-iron if there's wind. I mean, not a lot of wind, but of course. But it's interesting to me because you think that you want to make that hole extremely easy, right? You want to see birdies, right? That's what fans want to see. But you see guys missing the green. You see guys making 4s and 5s. Well, not really 5s, but 4. A lot of 4s that happen on that hole. And, guys make par, and they rain down booze on them.
Yeah.
And it might partially be because of the fans. I mean, Hayden Buckley hit it to a kick-in yesterday. About 3 or 4 feet, and then he missed it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that because of the spectacle that 16 is, it gets a little discounted among some golf crowds in terms of the difficulty and even I'll throw 17 in that category as well. You can't miss left on 17.
Right, I love that
at all in any way, shape, or form.
That hole's so cool.
Yeah, it's reachable. Yes, it's not long. It's an easy par 4, but you've got to keep it straight. And between 16 and 17, the uniqueness, the volume of the crowd, that does make a difference. It definitely plays into the challenge that 1-2 punch has.
Right. All right, let's talk about our winner. Scottie Scheffler repeats as champion here at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Really good leaderboard on Sunday that included him, John Rahm was nipping at the tails, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth also right there. Canadian Nick Taylor was right there. He was only a couple strokes back. Rory McIlroy finishes 4 under, a little bit not to be desired for him, but a really, really good leaderboard on Sunday as we had a nice little appetizer before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's super interesting that it was, with these elevated events, I think this past weekend is exactly what you wanted to see if you're the PGA Tour.
Right.
You want to, you want the names up top, but then, when you get a Nick Taylor, with his story over the last 3-4 years, it just adds to it. It adds to it even more. But, this is, I think the biggest debate question now I think we have coming out of that weekend is, does this really start to expose the world golf ranking system as it sits? And, I sat here 2 weeks ago on the podcast and I argued that Rory, Rahm, and Homa were basically the three best players in the world. And yet with a single win, Scheffler jumps right back into the number one spot.
Right.
And, 2 weeks ago we were saying, he's a guy who hasn't won since the Masters. He's, he got really basically blew it at the end of the FedEx Cup playoffs last year. He was in position. And, it's interesting. I think it shows partly how competitive even the top part of the world golf ranking is, but that the system we're using right now isn't perfect. And I think it's almost obsolete.
Yeah, I think that's true. Not to get into live too much, but I think, having a world golf ranking and not having a guy like Cameron Smith, who's clearly a top 5 golfer in the world in my mind, and he's not in those rankings just because he can't accrue points, I think that's a red flag to me. That's one of your, if we're talking about the best golfers in the world, it's hard to have a conversation in my mind that doesn't include Cameron Smith.
I think the challenge to that, if I'm playing devil's advocate, would be golf. The PGA Tour is too deep and too competitive, and the longer these guys are not in that week in and week out.
Right. We're less than a year from Cameron Smith winning a major. We're 8 months removed. Yeah,
we're less than a year removed from Scottie Scheffler winning the Masters, and nobody was thinking about him as one of the 3 best players in the world, but he's literally the best player on the planet right now.
Right, for sure.
So, I just think that the longer, the live guys, I think, are in a different category, because for me personally, they're not playing in this grind week in and week out. They're literally playing exhibition golf. Say what you want about their competitiveness and how good the skill they have. If Cam Smith was playing week in and week out, the schedule that he was playing the last 2 years on the PGA Tour, I'd say yes, I agree. But when you stop playing in that and all of a sudden the golf you play doesn't matter the way it matters when you're on the PGA Tour, I don't know how you can say that you can just hold that argument up forever and say these guys are the best, among the best in the world. I just don't think that's a fact anymore.
I'm really interested to see at Augusta when we see those guys teeing it up, Cameron Smith and all those.
Can a DJ, can some of those guys actually hold their own?
I'm interested to see, we've talked so much about, how much practice are they doing, these guys are professionals, they're competitors, I like to make jokes that they're not as much practicing, but I would be kind of surprised to hear if they're not. So I'm really interested to see, especially at Augusta too, because I don't think you'll get a lot of heckling for guys like Cameron Smith. If Cameron Smith put his tee in the ground on 16 at the TPC Scottsdale, you get beer cans thrown at him. So it's Augusta. You can't even have your phone with you. So it's going to be really different for them. That's why I think guys like Cameron Smith, Patrick Reed, Dustin Johnson can do well in the Masters. Not to get too far ahead of myself, but I think they'll play well, and I'm really interested to see it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, mainly on the basis of how much does one skill erode by not playing in that meat grinder week in and week out,
right?
Which is what the tour has become. Because really, all of these names that keep popping up week in and week out, these guys that are finishing top 5 in stacked fields, you really start to ask yourself, golf is crazy deep, and how quickly could we forget about somebody like Dustin Johnson, or how quickly could Dustin Johnson literally turn into no better than a top 25 or maybe top 30, 35 golfer if not in this grind week in and week out.
Dustin Johnson, I think, is a little bit different because he's even said that he's ready to kind of put his career on the back burner.
Right.
Cameron Smith is still in the position to win majors.
Yeah, hasn't. I mean, in theory, hasn't even hit his prime.
Right.
Which is kind of crazy.
Kind of crazy to think about, yeah.
Yeah. But, it's interesting, and not to put too much emphasis on the live side of things, but we saw this past weekend how, and I don't want to really talk about it, but we saw how poorly most of the live guys played this past weekend in that South Asian tournament. And, at the end of the day, if you're not performing well in that field, you're not going to be, earning any respect among the globe of people saying oh yeah, these are still the best golfers in the world. It's just eventually that's going to start to wear off, and I think it wears off sooner than later. DJ did fall out of the top 50 after Sunday.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
So
it did.
he is officially.
Cam Smith's got to be what,
gone.
15, 20?
I think he's still inside of 20. I
Okay,
believe
yeah.
he's still inside of 20, which, that'll hold on. And, DJ finished last year in the mid-30s, I believe. So you see how quickly that can,
He's higher than that. I
how
think.
quickly that can start to fall off.
Right.
So, takes time. Let's talk a little bit about Liv. Our one Liv topic for the day. We can't go an episode without talking about Liv.
That's for sure.
Attorneys for Liv say that they made virtually $0 in revenue in 2022. And according to a bunch of different reports this past week, they blamed the PGA Tour for making conditions difficult for them. Oh, man. I made a TikTok about this because I had so many thoughts about it when I saw a couple stories pop up. This is absolute lunacy. Like, look, 3 really clear facts, I think, about Liv. No TV deal in 2022. Their marketing is abysmal. Just even present day, their marketing is abysmal. Look at these stupid intro videos for the teams that
Range
they've
goats.
been making. Like all these stupid promotional videos that we've been seeing, they literally look like something that was made by a high school student. Terrible. You have an unlimited amount of money.
I think Bubba Watson's kid did make that one. That logo.
It says a lot then, I guess,
I'm
right?
not totally sure, but
And then 3, your entire business plan revolves around the concept of having a blank check to do whatever you have to do. $700 million to produce and to get talent over. And here we are.
right.
We're crying that we're not making any money. No business on planet Earth gets to play by those rules. Be thankful that you didn't have to make any money because you literally wouldn't have existed.
Right.
You had to make money. Like you wouldn't have been able to get started in the first place. And it's not the PGA Tour's fault that you're not making any money. Nobody's watching you. Nobody cares.
Right.
Your events don't mean anything because they're exhibition events.
I mean, we talk so much about the streaming numbers, right? Between 30 and 35,000.
Yeah.
The Barstool Mini Golf Open, which they did the week of the Super Bowl, about a week ago now,
Yeah.
that had 25,000 current watchers on YouTube. And that was on a Thursday at like 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
So but going back to that Live thing, what startups do make money in the first year, though? So how would they should expect to make no money, right? I mean, nothing does in the first year.
I don't
It's always
know.
a battle.
Without a TV deal and with no established audience, if you spend or you plan to spend $700 million, I don't care how developed your product is or how awesome you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Without any serious marketing effort, and even with that, I don't know how you make $700 million
Right.
to break even.
But their big, quote-unquote, big expenses are out of the way, right? With the big player names
Yeah, I think,
out of the way in quotes, right?
Yeah, it looks to me like most of their expense moving forward is just in production, which seems to be more of a run and gun style
Right.
production. So something similar to, what you see on YouTube as opposed to what you see on television. But now that they have a TV deal with CW, maybe they are going to produce more of a television level broadcast product. And if they do, that's probably going to be more expensive, right?
Right.
That's probably going to cost more. So, if I'm in the upper echelon of Live, you're not making money until at least 2027, 2028. It's just my thought process.
Yeah,
on it.
that's
You need to
that's
build an
hard.
audience over the first 3 years.
Right.
It's going to take a long time, even with the personalities. And you're probably going to need, it sounds weird to say, but you're almost going to need some kind of luck. You're going to need some kind of event or something that happens that's this catalyst for people to start taking a serious interest or care. And I don't know what that thing is, and I don't know what it could be in golf, but you probably would need that too, because you need the spark. You
Right.
can have the fuel, you can have the kindling, but do you have a spark?
Mm-hmm.
And, right now I think Liv is searching for all of those things. And, how do you make money when you invest so much up front and not really set out to make money? They never set out to make money.
Right.
That's the crazy thing is they never set out last year saying, we want to make money. We know how to make golf be more revenue driven so players can make more money. They said they wanted to make golf a better product, and they thought that they could create a better product. It had nothing to do with revenue.
Right.
So live with it.
Whatever that means. Live
Live
with it.
with
That's
it.
a good one. Let's talk about probably the biggest storyline in golf, I thought, this week. The big cat, Tiger Woods
He's back.
is back. Tiger announced last week during the Waste Management Phoenix Open on Twitter that he's going to be back and playing in the Genesis Open, which his foundation hosts at Riviera Country Club this weekend. So last time we saw Tiger was last year in the Open Championship over at St. Andrews. So it's going to be great to see Tiger back, and we'll see what kind of condition he's in.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know what the expectations would be for Tiger coming into this week. I think it's probably just to gauge it out.
Right.
You know, see how he feels. How does he get around?
Right.
Obviously, he hosts the event, so probably a priority for him to play in.
He hasn't played in it since 1920, though.
Yeah, but when he thinks,
20 season.
Thinking about that, like that hypothetical schedule that he kind of laid out, where he said he would only play 5, 6, maybe 7 events a year,
Right.
4 majors plus a couple events like this. If you're the host, a lot easier to play that event because you're already going to be there anyway.
Right, but if you know Tiger, he's not gonna plan to shoot 75.
Oh, yeah, he's not just
and
showing up.
be in casual clothes the rest of the weekend. He's never missed the cut here, so that's something that he could probably hang his hat on. He's played. This was the first event he ever played in. He was 16 years old, and he played as a sophomore in his first PGA Tour event at Riviera. So that was an amateur that he did miss a cut that year, but he has missed a cut as a pro. So I think he's got a lot. He knows that this is his place and this is his tournament. So I think if I know Tiger, he wouldn't play if he knows he can't
Where do you think the leg is?
break 70 and beat, I think.
Where do you think the leg is?
Oh, man, that's an interesting question. Last time we saw Tiger at the PNC Championship with Charlie, he talked about, I could swing, and we saw him swing, and it's a gorgeous golf swing, as it's always been. But can he walk? That's what he says, right? I wish I could walk because that's the real deterrent for him, right? So it'll be interesting to see. I think he'll be able to get around for 4 days. He's just going to be hurting. And as we watch him kind of walking down the fairway. But I think he'll be able to find ways to take stress off that leg during the course of the tournament.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to scheduling, this event is probably very intentional in that it gives him 6 or so weeks afterward to kind of get the leg back in shape for the Masters.
And then some more time to come up to Rochester.
Right.
That would be awesome. I hope that happens.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is and I think it was the Masters last year. We saw where the temperature dropped on day 3.
Yeah, that hurt him.
And his leg was almost useless.
Right.
So I think that you'll probably see him steer more toward warmer climate events. I could even see him skipping, you want to talk about the PGA up here in Rochester, I could see him skipping it because it could be 50 degrees with rain,
it could be 40.
or it could be anything. I mean, we always joke, in upstate New York, you could literally get snow on Mother's Day, but that's a thing. Upper 30s, low 40s.
Right.
Unusual, but possible, especially with how this winter's been.
Tomorrow's going to be 60
warmed.
here, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be 65 here, but no, I think that's part of the calculation for him probably moving forward. Does he make the cut?
That was my next question. I think so. Which I think is interesting, too, is he's plus 138 to make the cut on FanDuel. I'd like to hear yours and Paul's opinion. If he does make the cut, I say yes. What do you got, Josh?
No. I think he'll be close, but I think he's going to shoot a couple over par both days. And
do you think he finishes those 2 rounds, or he withdraws before that? Or
Nope, he'll finish.
Okay.
I almost bet that you won't see much evidence of his leg being a problem.
So you think it's the golf side
I think
of it?
It will literally be the rust of not playing truly competitive.
That's true.
We haven't seen him play in a non-major in how long?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Literally since the accident, I don't think. I think he's only played in the in the majors.
Yeah, he didn't play.
much.
He didn't play in a regular event last year.
We haven't seen him play just a normal run-of-the-mill tournament.
Right.
In a couple of years now, other than the PNC is an exhibition. It's not a real.
It's
not a real tournament.
It's not a PGA tournament.
So I think this is really tight. And even if he misses the cut, I think that there will be positives for him to take away from this week
for sure,
because he will. I think he gets confidence back in that leg.
Right. Missed the cut? Yes or no, Paul?
I don't think he misses it. I think his tournament. I think he makes it. So not to play the tinfoil hat card, but I've a hard time imagining not though. But to put it where he's kind of, I'd say, with others, he's sandwiched in between Bo Hostler and Scott Stallings. So
What is he, like 60 to 1?
we got him. Let's see. To win, he's at 15,000 plus 15,000. So on the green book. So
way out there.
Take that.
To win, though. I mean, nobody is expecting Tiger to go out and win.
I love plus
Absolutely
138 to make the cut.
Right, I was just saying
I
that's
love
kind of where he's projected at right now. The individuals he's surrounded by.
Yeah.
I don't have confidence in Bo Hostler making the cut, and I don't have confidence in Tiger making the cut.
All right.
I said it.
Wow. Parlay them together. See what happens.
Well, this is a stacked deck.
Yes, it is.
This is not like playing a non-elevated event.
Right.
I might lean towards him making the cut if it's a non-elevated event, but we've seen just how deep and how strong these fields have been so far this year, especially the elevated event side. I don't think he can. I'm not so sure he can hang with that.
Imagine how much the PGA Tour wants him to make the cut. They get some ratings on Sunday.
Oh,
if
they
he's
want
there
him
wearing his
so.
red
Oh, my
on
God.
Sunday.
Could you imagine
I'll be watching. I'll probably watch either way. But
if he's just vaguely in contention, like if he's even
if
within
he's
like
10 shots back, they'll show every shot.
I was going to say like 5 to 10 shots
Yeah.
back, he will be, even if he has no real chance of winning at that stage, he will be just the center of the television the whole day.
Right.
No way around
Probably could for good reason. Let's get into the Genesis a little bit. Riviera Country Club, par 71. Last year, our winner was Live Tour legend Joaquin Niemann. So we're going to get a new winner this
He's
year.
not going to go back to
No
back.
chance to repeat it. Old Joaquin's not in the field this week. So let's talk about our picks to win. I'll let you go first, Josh.
Yeah, so lots of interesting numbers. You know, I'm going with the guy who's already shown he's got what it takes. Max Homa.
One here before.
Yep. Big value too at plus 2,000. Absolutely love
20 to 1.
Absolutely love that. That might have changed. I jotted that down.
I think it actually got longer. I think I saw 22 to 1.
Okay, well then even better. I think that's an awesome
It's just
value
a
for a
stacked
guy
field.
who has literally won this year. You know,
Yep.
he just won a few weeks ago. So this is, you know,
Did you see his club throw on Sunday?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
yeah, we've all been there. You
Sorry
know,
to get off track.
it's tough to bet against, you know, Rahm, Rory, and Scheffler though when you've got them, you know, leading the way. They're the guys with the top odds at this point. But yeah, I think my gut tells me Max is going to have a very good weekend.
All right. I'll go a little bit more chalkier than that. I'm taking Rory.
Yeah.
I think Rory has the most to prove. You know, he hasn't
fair.
won this year. Everyone's talking about Scottie Scheffler, John Rahm, Max Homa a little bit here and there. You know, you're talking about Justin Thomas, all those other big players. Rory at 9 to 1, I think. He can kind of gear up towards the major season as we get closer and closer to that. He didn't play, I wouldn't say poorly, he didn't play well. I think he finished around 4 under par at the Waste Management. So I think Rory gets it done this week, and he has to get that swagger back when he starts strutting down the fairways. There's no one more fun to watch, in my opinion.
Even though everybody understands that there will never be another Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy has consistently become the only player that essentially carries Tiger Woods-esque
Right.
expectations with him week in
Yes.
and week out.
Definitely.
And it's borderline insane, in my opinion, because he's not. He's not that. He is, I think, if you can make the argument for anybody over a span of, you know, say the last couple years, he is the best golfer on the planet.
Yes.
And because of that, I think, like, you know, he's a safe pick this weekend. Like, sure, he hasn't played that well over the last, you know, month and a half, but it's so early, and he could just show up and win this weekend, and, you know, would you be surprised?
Nope.
No,
Definitely not.
of course not. No, I like it. What do you have as far as a long shot bet
All right.
this weekend? What are you keying up on there?
I have 2. One was a former winner here at Riviera, Adam Scott, 55 to 1. And another one's an old friend guy that actually played pretty solid last week, Keegan Bradley, 65 to 1. Those are my 2 long shot picks of the week. Keegan's been playing good golf. Like I said, Adam Scott's won here before, so knows what to do. I see you got 2 written down here too, Josh, so let's hear those.
Yeah, I really like the Keegan pick. Mine aren't quite as long shot as yours are. Mine are more middle of the pack. Jordan Spieth at plus 29 and Sam Burns at plus 3,000. Sam Burns, I feel like I've been hammering that drum now for like 2 months.
Yes, you have. You're going to cash in one of these weeks.
One of these weeks he's going to show up because he's just so capable. He's such a good golfer. He is one of the most complete all-around players that I think, week in, week out doesn't quite get enough credit. But Jordan Spieth, we've seen bits and pieces of the magic. His game is definitely coming around.
That bunker shot he hit, I think it was on 18 or maybe 17, that he hit. It was like about an 80-yard bunker shot. He hit it to about 6 feet.
Greller literally said it was the best bunker shot he's ever seen. I mean, it was a heck of a golf shot. And, again, showing you how deep golf is. If any of these guys won, none of us would be like, wow, can't believe it. They really defied the odds. Nope, professional golf is just that deep.
All right, let's get into our DFS lineups. We didn't do one last week. Of course, we didn't do a competition between the three of us, and I put one in myself. Of course, I came in the green on that one last week in Phoenix, so I'd love to take that as a win, but not against you guys, so it's not a win.
You made money. I mean, you made money. We'll count that.
Right. All right, let's go through our lineups. I'll start with myself. I got the aforementioned Keegan Bradley, Tony Finau, Rory McIlroy, Alex Noren, Adam Scott, and J.J. Spawn. So my picks, 3 guys that I've said already, my 2 long shots, and Rory McIlroy. And I will move over to your picks, Josh. You also have Keegan Bradley, which I find interesting.
Yes, and these elevated events are so interesting because you get value players that aren't actually value players. They're actually just good golfers,
right?
Which is awesome. I'm finally jumping on the Rahm bandwagon. Snagged him. He was the most expensive of my team. Justin Rose, Ricky Fowler. Shout out to you, Paul. Keegan Bradley, got Hadwin and Nick Taylor in there. I like those mid-card guys, the ones that I can spend between, $7,500 and $8,000 DFS dollars on.
Is that your first ever DFS lineup with 2 Canadians on it, you think? Between Adam Hadwin and Nick Taylor?
No, because I'm sure it's happened more times than I realize because I've picked Hadwin probably a half dozen times back, not this past season, but the season before that when we were doing this on a pretty regular basis.
Gotta love the Canadians.
I picked Hadwin quite a bit. Value guy. Shows up.
Well, it's looking over at Paul's roster. He's got a little bit of the studs and duds, per se.
If he didn't pick Ricky Fowler, I'm a little ashamed.
Well, good news for you, Josh. I did.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear because he's coming around. He's actually like playing golf now.
Made a hole-in-one. That was
one.
Really cool.
It was a really cool hole-in-one.
Not
on 16, but it was a hole-in-one.
Followed it up with 2 bogeys, which was interesting, but it's okay. He's also got Sam Ryder, Lanto Griffin, Will Zalatoris, Max Homa, and Rory McIlroy.
Will Zalatoris with a damaged back?
By the way,
he's fine now.
I find Zalatoris to be a good value in all honesty.
Can we get Will Zalatoris a picture?
Isn't it? That's weird. It's weird.
He's Will Zalatoris.
Picture. Well, so I don't think so. My thought process on him is that his back isn't 100%, and I kind of feel like he's turning a bit into Jason Day for me, where back problems can be.
I hope not.
Back problems can be really tough.
Yeah. And
even if he looks like he's in good condition, good shape, I still think it can be a problem, even if it's just slightly altering the mechanics of his swing or him having just changed things up a little bit. There's a learning curve there, I think, best case.
One more topic before we get out of here, Josh. Full Swing, the Netflix documentary about the PGA Tour and the LIV Tour, comes out this week on Wednesday. There was a Super Bowl commercial on Sunday that you were able to scan the QR code on the commercial and obtain the first episode early. Unfortunately, I really wanted to, but I haven't had a chance to watch that. I don't think I'll have a chance today, but I'll be able to start watching that tomorrow and into the weekend. Really looking forward to it. There's been some fun kind of previews and teasers between Daniel Rappaport and some others on Twitter that just show it's really going to be an awesome documentary. And it's if something you think about is, well, I'm not really a hardcore golf fan. I don't really know these guys.
That's okay.
I don't need to be.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
You think about like Drive to Survive. I watch parts of that. I don't really know much about F1.
Right.
And it's just awesome theatrics, you know, once you learn about kind of what happened last year, especially last year in the PGA Tour, with everything happening with players going to live. It's just a really cool documentary, and it couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. I probably won't jump on it right away, but it'll go on the list, and at some point I'll get around to making my way through it eventually.
Right. Also, we alluded to it earlier in the episode, but golf tomorrow? How about it? 60 degrees around here on Wednesday in upstate New York.
In February? So, we got to have it.
So
got to go play golf.
Yeah, head over to the Out of Bounds TikTok. I'm sure we'll put something together.
Yeah, we'll play with a bum club or something like that. Who knows?
Oh, man, my swing is not where it needs to be yet. Don't make me do that yet.
One club challenge with a rental club? Who knows?
Oh, man, that could
Wait
be fun.
and see.
So, yeah, be sure to head over to the Out of Bounds TikTok at Out of Bounds Golf Pod. We'll have some fun content up there tomorrow from Silver Creek and Waterloo. So we'll be back with another episode next week of the podcast here on FingerLakes1.com. Head over to our TikTok, like I said, follow us there, and we got a Twitter account going too. And remember, whether it's down the middle or out of bounds, keep on swinging.
You've been listening to Out of Bounds. If it's coverage, debate, or discussion of pro and local golf, we'll be talking about it. Be sure to visit the website at fingerlakes1.com. Find us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at OutOfBoundsFL1. See you next time on Out of Bounds.